You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're stuck because you still learn like someone who doesn't know how to grow. And that is the part nobody tells you. Most people do not fail because they are dumb. They fail because they stay trapped in the same level of learning for years without even noticing it. They consume more, but understand less. They try harder, but improve slower. And the most dangerous part? It feels normal. Level 1. Learning to survive. At this level, learning feels like pressure. You study because you are afraid. Afraid of failing, afraid of being judged, afraid of falling behind. You do not learn to understand. You learn to escape consequences. So everything becomes short-term. Memorize, repeat, forget. And maybe that is exactly where you are right now. You read things, you watch videos, you try to focus. But deep down, nothing is really changing. Because survival mode does not create mastery. It only creates urgency. Level 2. Learning to look productive. This is where many people get stuck. You highlight pages, you save posts, you buy courses, you organize your desk, you make plans. You tell yourself you are improving, but you are not really learning. You are building the appearance of effort. This level is dangerous because it feels responsible. It feels disciplined. It feels smart. But it is often just a prettier form of avoidance. You confuse consuming with growing. You confuse planning with progress. You confuse motion with transformation. And that mistake steals years from people. Level 3. Learning to pass. Now you start taking learning a little more seriously. You want results, grades, approval, recognition, proof that your effort means something. So you begin studying with a goal. That sounds good, and it is better than drifting. But there is still a trap here. At this level, you only care about the answer, not the structure behind the answer, not the logic, not the depth. You want to get it right, without becoming the kind of person who truly understands why it is right. So even when you win, your foundation stays weak. And under pressure, weak foundations collapse. Level 4, learning to understand. This is where real growth begins. You stop asking, what do I need to memorize? And start asking, what is actually happening here? That question changes everything. Now, learning becomes slower, but deeper. Harder, but real. You stop running from confusion. You sit with it. You break ideas apart. You connect concepts. You revisit what hurt your ego before. This is the level where many people quit, because understanding is uncomfortable. It exposes how shallow your old confidence really was. It forces you to admit that recognition is not mastery. But if you stay here long enough, your mind changes. You stop collecting information. You start building intelligence. Level 5. Learning to apply. Now, knowledge starts entering real life. You no longer study just to remember. You study to use. You test ideas, you make mistakes, you adjust. You see where theory breaks. You see where you break. And that is powerful. Because application reveals the truth. Not the truth about the subject, the truth about you. It shows whether you really learned something, or whether you only felt inspired for a moment. A lot of people love learning in theory. Very few love the humiliation of trying, failing, correcting, and trying again. But that is where skill is born.
Level 6. Learning to think for yourself. This is the level where you stop depending on being guided all the time. You stop waiting for someone to explain everything in the perfect order. You start asking better questions. You challenge assumptions. You notice patterns. You build your own mental models. Now you are not just receiving knowledge, you are processing it, shaping it, making it yours. And once that happens, you become dangerous in the best way. Because now you can enter unfamiliar territory and still find your way through it. This is when learning becomes power. Not borrowed power, real power.
Level 7. Learning to transform. At the highest level, learning is no longer just something you do. It becomes who you are. You do not chase knowledge to impress people. You do not study only when fear forces you to. You do not need constant motivation. You become someone who evolves, someone who adapts, someone who can enter a room, a challenge, a new phase of life, and grow through it. At this level, learning stops being academic. It becomes personal, spiritual even, because every new truth demands a new version of you. And that is why real learning changes lives, not because it fills your head, but because it rebuilds your identity. So ask yourself honestly, what level are you living in right now? Are you learning to survive? To look productive? To pass? To understand? To apply? To think? Or to transform? Because your life will always reflect the way you learn. Not the books you bought, not the videos you watched, not the plans you made. The way you learn becomes the way you live. And if your life keeps repeating the same patterns, maybe the problem is not your potential. Maybe the problem is your level of learning. The good news? Levels can change, but only when you stop pretending you are growing and finally decide to grow for real.